I thought for part 3 of the story of Stackmod and how we've come to this place, I thought I would do this more of like a Q&A. It's not live, it's more questions I've seen around the internet, particularly on social media, questions and messages I've had about Stackmod, about Wilkie, the 3D printed mod, about what the heck I've been up to and what the hell I'm doing. So I thought I'd do this more of a Q&A and kind of try and answer as many questions as possible about Stackmod and what the hell we're up to. Pretty simple, really. First of all, I've kind of been inspired by the community. I know that sounds very, very cheesy, but the fact is that when I got my 3D printer, which is at the back there, and eventually come up with the AtiStack line. You've seen the AtiStack line and recently the AtiStack Lite, which is now available obviously on the website. I just really enjoyed, first of all, working with 3D printers. It was a lot of fun, a massive experience, a huge learning curve, learning properly how to design something in 3D and then print it. The thought of making something printable in 3D was just cool to me and just really exciting. And obviously it led to the AtiStack and the AtiStack Lite and now onto these 3D printed mods. So I've been heavily inspired by my experience in vaping the last 5 years of this channel, and obviously I've had a couple of requests when I first got my 3D printer to make a mod for this person, that person. I kind of thought, well, I don't really know what I'm doing yet, so you know, I don't really know whether it's something I want to do, whether it's something I can do. So it's taken a bit of time to kind of learn 3D printing, learn 3D modeling, and kind of understand how printers work, filaments, different styles, different brands, all that kind of stuff. So all of a sudden I kind of got to this place where, I don't know, the stars aligned or something like that. Obviously, had a little bit of a kick up the backside by Andy Wilkinson. I say kick up the backside is more because Andy Wilkinson over the years has been a great supporter of the channel, particularly when he worked for Dovpo and BP Mods and those guys. He was very supportive of the channel. He made them send me products to review. He also got me in touch with people like Oz from Infinite Mods, and I've had a great relationship with him. Also worked very closely with Legio X. So it's just kind of been one of those things that's kind of slowly evolved, and he's been super helpful for the channel. When he asked me for a big mod using some Dovpo MVP chipsets, I just felt like I genuinely have to do something for this guy. I have to pay him back in some way. If you've been a member of this channel for a long time or subscribed for a long time, you'll know Andy Wilkinson. You'll know how much he's helped the channel and also how he's supported races and things like that. There was quite a while where we had the community with the Femis mod from Dovpo, where a lot of people got to do a big community review, which is really, really good. And a lot of people got the mod for free. Along with that, a number of prizes and goodies that have been sent out all over the place to people, thanks to Andy Wilkinson and his work with Dovpo and BP Mods and those kind of guys. So the whole how I got to this place is kind of not primarily Andy Wilkinson, but he's definitely, like I say, giving me a bit of a kick up the backside, and kind of just, he's made it, to be honest with you, he made it a bit easier for me to get to this stage. Okay, this one's a good one, because it is massive. Wilkie is absolutely ginormous. I mean, it's not huge, but it is on the bigger side of things. Wilkie is a big mod, and it's only a dual 21700, it's not like it's a quad. I mean, if you compare it to something like a top side, yeah, you know, it's a bit on the chunky side. The fact is, and the honest truth is, first of all, I needed something that was hold up to a 40mm. That was one of Andy Wilkinson's requests when I started on the Wilkie mod. There was a couple of other requests that I've kind of ignored. The second thing is, it's much easier to design something bigger than it is really small. And you'll know this if you've done anything. It's easier to build bigger. It just gives you more space to play with. So to be honest with you, there's been a huge learning curve for me, and I actually started with a smaller mod and it kind of went bigger and bigger until I felt comfortable that I could print everything well and easy and it all goes together as it should do. That's kind of how we've got to the stage we've got to. Since then, obviously, I've learned so much. So much. So future mods, which I'll talk about a little bit later, will be a lot smaller. Thank goodness. But I've definitely learned a lot. It's just easier to work on something bigger, specifically when it's like your first attempt. I'm not a big fan of mechs, if I'm quite honest. I find that there's a lot of 3D printed mech mods on the market. There's not many regulated 3D printed mods. I myself, day to day, am a regulated mod user. That's all I use is regulated. I do have some mechs. I do have some mech mods, but I very, very rarely use them. I just like having a screen and adjusting the buttons and the wattage and turning it off and on and all that kind of stuff. And I can't be dealing with all the batteries and battery safety. And of course I worry about my battery wraps and all that kind of stuff like anyone does. But I just felt like if I need to make something that I would use, and that I would like. And also I'm more experienced with regulated mods than I am with mech mods. And like I say, there's plenty of people who are making 3D printed mech mods, and there's a kind of category that maybe eventually we'll get to that stage. But right now I just wanted to do something that I knew and how I think it should work and kind of go together, I suppose. Yeah. So yeah, if you've seen Wilkie on the website, which is now going to be available from Friday the 10th of May, which might be now if you're watching this, it might have been yesterday, it might be 2 weeks ago, it might be tomorrow. 55 quid, 75 quid. It's pretty simple really. If you can provide your own Dovpo MVP mod to me that works, send it to me and I'll knock 20 quid off the price. It's as simple as that. If you don't have one, I have about 10 MVP mods here that I can take apart and I can build your Wilkie from that, which is why it's 75 quid. Now you might be asking, why that price? Okay, first of all, and it is the same with anything in the world, I've lost count of how many hours I've spent designing, developing, printing trials, learning. Now that doesn't go into the cost of this mod, but it definitely plays a part. I reckon I've spent maybe 300 hours designing Wilkie, and I know when you look at it, you go, how can that take 300 hours to design? Well, yeah, that's how long it's taken. It is what it is. Now, first is because I'm new to this kind of thing. Second of all, because developing 3D printed mods is, I've learned, harder than you'd think. And the third thing is, and this is probably, in my opinion, the most important, I feel that's what the mod's worth. Now, is it worth that because it's better than any other 3D printing mod market? No, absolutely not. In fact, I'll be the first one to hold my hands up and say this is not the best quality 3D printing mod on the market. And that might put you off buying it, but that's fine. I'd rather have people who are supporting the cause rather than people looking for a, I don't know, top spec 3D printing mod. Because to be completely honest with you, that's not what Wilkie is. What Wilkie is first of all, it's a great experience for me to learn this. Second of all, it's a great opportunity for you to have something different. And if you have an MVP mod sitting on the shelf and you don't know what the hell to do with it, for just 55 quid, you can transform it into a big monster mod that takes a dual 21700. That's kind of the route I'm going down. That's kind of how I felt about it. And I think if I like to think of it, if it was me, if someone said, oh, look, send me your MVP mod, and for 55 quid, I'll make it into something like this. Something a bit massive and a bit bonkers, and you can put bigger tanks and drippers on it. I think that isn't a bad deal. Now going back to, if you don't have your own MVP chip and you've got to spend 75 quid, yes, you can go online and you can buy a regulated mod for 20, 30, 40 quid. For 75 quid, you can get a pretty darn decent mod. You can. And I will not put you off of doing that, and I will not tell you why Wilkie is better and you should definitely get this and you shouldn't get that £75 mod that's manufactured in China. That's not what I'm here for. And I can't convince you otherwise, and I wouldn't want to. The fact is, Wilkie is just something very different, and it has been and become an opportunity for me, for Stackmod, for all that kind of thing, to progress into the future with future things. So it's helping, it's going to help, hopefully, me to develop and to move forward. Research and development and time and buying some bits I need to improve my print quality, to improve my standards, to gain experience, all that kind of stuff. It all is entailed within that £75 price mark. And I don't think £75 for what this is too bad, especially when you look at the broad spectrum of 3D printing mods that are available on the market. One other thing I'll add to that, actually, before I forget, like anything, like for example, e-liquid. You would, if you don't know, you'd be surprised how cheap e-liquid is to manufacture. But that's not the point. The point is you're not just paying for this. You're also paying within that price, obviously, for things like the website, the printer, the maintenance, for the obviously the filaments used, the bits that are used. Yes, I know Andy Wilkinson helped support this with a handful of MVP mods. So you think, well, can't he do it cheaper because he's not paying for them chipsets? Well, if you don't think that the £75 price mark is acceptable, don't buy it. I know that sounds really arsey, but that's how I feel about it. You're paying for more than just the mod. You're paying for the whole background of everything to do with Stackmod, what it's doing in the future, what's happened in the past, and what you get in the end is a mod, a nice box, and all the other stuff. So I think it's a fair deal. So like I've already said, Andy Wilkinson handed me a number of MVP mods for me to try out and work with, and also a couple that I can then strip apart and sell, which is fantastic and super kind of him. But the second thing is, it is a very cheap option. If you like the look of Wilkie, but you don't, or I run out of DovPo MVP chips. You can pick up a I can't say the bloody word. You can pick up an MVP mod for about 30 quid. So even if you had to buy one for 30 quid plus your postage of a fiver, 35 quid, then send it to me, and then I bill you 55 quid. What are we at? Oh, I've lost my math. 50, 60, 70, and 90 quid. 90 quid. Yeah, it's a little bit more pricey, but still, it's cheaper than buying something like a DNA chipset or something like that. £30 for a whole mod, and I just need the chipset. I think that's good. So that's the main reason why we're using the MVP chipset. So I kind of feel like I've covered this, but I will go a little bit further on this one. So obviously when I started researching mods, I mean, I obviously know about the price of 3D printed mods from my experience and looking at, and I'm not saying anything negative about any of these. For example, like Rebel mods are pricey. Now, I don't know the exact way they create their mods. I really like their mods. I'm a big fan of any 3D printed mods. I always have been. I haven't owned many, but I've always been a fan of them just because I've always appreciated the work that's gone into them. Same like any other handmade mods. I take Vape Smarter, for example. Vape Smarter mods. I'm a huge fan of Stuart and Vape Smarter. The time and all that background stuff that no one sees that goes into making these devices, you wouldn't believe, or you do understand and do appreciate, which is why you're watching this video, because you appreciate what actually goes into creating these mods. And I'm not doing this to try and defend myself. I'm doing this so you kind of understand everything to do with Stackmod and everything to do with 3D printed mods. 3D printers can be cheap. You can get a cheap 3D printer for 200-300 quid. That one at the back there is just under £1,000. Now, you're not paying for that when you buy these mods, okay? That's already bought and paid for. But just to give you an idea, that's £1,000 worth of 3D printer there. Filament itself, yes, filament is cheap. You can buy super cheap stuff, you can buy middle range, or you can buy top quality stuff. There's also some that have like a carbon fiber inside of the filament as well for extra strength. There's nylons, there's ABS, you wouldn't believe the types of filament there are out there. The standard filament used for things like Wilkie and your Atti stacks and a lot of other 3D printed products you see is more on the cheaper side of things. And I'm not just saying that to slate anyone else who makes 3D printed products, but generally it's more on the cheaper stuff. We're not using the carbon fiber because it's unnecessary. I like to think I use middle of the range stuff. I've taken advice from a number of 3D printed mod makers who 3D print mods and what they use and what they experience, and a lot of other people that make other 3D printed products, and kind of try different products and decide on what I like and what works for me. And it is cheap. It's cheap to print a mod, but it's everything else that goes into it. Everything else that goes into making these. Printing it is the easiest part. The design of it, when it's manufactured, the actual putting together, if there's any soldering required, all the other bits and bobs, the 510s, the screws, you might use magnets, all those kind of little bits add up. And that's why the cost of 3D printed mods are what they are. Do I think some 3D printed mods are very expensive? Yes, I do. I agree with you. 3D printed mods can be very expensive. They don't always have to be, but you also don't realise all the other stuff that's gone into it. I go back to Rebel mods, and I don't want to slate Rebel mods because I really, really don't, because I genuinely like them, but they must use a different print method because their mod finish and the way they look, I really like. I think they're really nice. They've got a really nice texture, and they're not using the same kind of printer that you see back here. They are maybe a little bit more on the pricey side, but I still think you're getting a very good, nice, slightly unusual mod for the price, and I think for that reason the price is justified. Well, the plan for the future is pretty simple, really. First of all, Wilkie and what happens next is really part of our research and development section kind of phase. Wilkie in particular, hopefully, is going to give me the opportunity to progress and improve. It's going to help me improve a number of things that I use now, tools and equipment that I have, so I can produce better mods in future. It's also going to allow me to buy some more filament that I might need, some more chipsets that I need for future projects. It's kind of going to give me that, what's the bloody word? Foundation. It's going to help me build a foundation for what I would like to do next. What would I like to do next? I have already got plans and designs in place for a single 21700 mod, which you might have seen sneak peeks up. It's coming very, very soon. We'll talk about that in a minute. This whole foundation stage of Stackmod is purely to give me good and bad experiences, to learn good things and bad things. Now, if you don't know, I'm a qualified electrician. So that's helped me massively with things to do with the electrical components to do with things like soldering and just general electrical connections. I'm already pretty clued up. I've had to brush up slightly on my soldering skills, but that's fine. I'm just saying I'm experienced to an extent with that kind of thing. Electronics is a little bit different to kind of electrical installations in commercial and domestic properties, but still I have a good enough understanding of electrical safety and everything to do with electrical. So that's one good thing, but it's definitely just going to come. This whole phase is just giving us the experience we need to progress, and I'm so far been really enjoying it and also really excited about it. So Air or A1R, very simply really. First of all, 3D printing mods are light, generally speaking. Even this chonker, the tank's heavier than the mod. Even dual batteries in it, it feels weighty, but it's not crazy heavy. Air, A1R. 3D printed mods are lightweight, so Air is going to be a very lightweight mod. That's where that gets that name from. But A1R, A is what I would call going to be our first mod, our first proper, fully in-house produced, designed, put together mod. There's no borrowed chipsets from other manufacturers, from Dovpos. It's just everything's going to be from us. We get the chipset with all the soldering, we put the 510s in, everything. It's all going to be completely from us. So it's A, it's number one, it's the first one. One is one battery in it, one single 21700, and R means regulated. So that's A1R, that's Air, that's where that comes from, which is obviously the first mod that I'm going to be really excited to show you guys really, really soon. A few sneak peeks coming soon. We're just going through some final tweaks. Things don't always go to plan when you're trying to develop these mods. The basis of the mod is an internal yoke, shall we call it, a core. And the core contains the chipset, the core contains the buttons, the core contains the screen, and the battery holder all in one, and it clips into an outer body, which does two good things. First of all, if there's a problem with your DNA chipset, you can return it and I can replace it fairly easily, which is great. Second of all, it's very good for actually putting together and building in the first place. It means I'll be able to make multiple of the yokes, as many as I can possibly make already, and then when an order comes in, if I need to and I don't have the color printed, I can just print the shell, put it all together, out it goes. It will make ordering to receiving a lot quicker, which is something that I'm really keen on, because with Wilkie, if you order this, you're going to be waiting up to 2 weeks. That's just purely because of how things work with printing it, putting it all together. So I want a quick, streamlined way of producing these. Now, hopefully, obviously, eventually, I'd love to have a handful of these on the shelf ready to post as soon as someone orders one. But yeah, that's kind of the reason why, I suppose. Yeah, 100% customizations. Wilkie's a bit different, okay? It's limited. In fact, if you do want a Wilkie but you have specific requirements, please send us a message before you order, or put a note and tell us what you want, and we can chat about it and kind of discuss it. But yes, the fact is I'm doing this my way and the way I feel is best. I do want to offer a lot more customizations on future mods. Obviously different colors, text, graphics, all that kind of stuff eventually will come, but it's purely time and experience, and also that kind of thing needs to be factored more into the website. And so the website, if you didn't know, I've built myself as well, so there's a lot going on, and I've just never really haven't really got round to kind of a lot more customizations available. Particularly on Wilkie, they won't be available, but on future mods, yes, I would love to have a lot more options for customizations, different colors of this, that, and the other. We just really haven't got to that point. Like I say, we're still on this kind of baseline, and I'm trying to climb, so I need your help. So I hope that's kind of answered as many questions as you might possibly have. Maybe I've been too transparent and open about this, but I just wanted to be honest with you all about where I am with this and what's next. Now, if you haven't seen or you don't know, on the 10th of May, Wilkie will be available on Stack's website. It's a dual 21700, just like that. Dual 21700, fires up to 220 watts. It makes use of the Dovpo MVP. I have been working really hard on print quality and finish, particularly on the black, which seems to be really hard. It shows every single blemish, but as you can see, I'm pretty pleased with this kind of effect and how it looks. Future mods will be different style, different effects. I've got one here, but I'm just so tempted to show, but I won't. But go and check it out, folks. If you're interested, just go and check it out. Share it out if you know someone who's interested in this kind of thing. If they want a big mod, if they've got an MVP sitting on the shelf not doing nothing, and they want to transform it and make it into a usable mod, hopefully this is a good option for them. Have a good one, folks.